I think the role that you played on every team that you were on, including even when you came to the Warriors the second time, was you were an enforcer. You were an enforcer. And I think, and I would love to know how you feel about this, but I don't think a team can win a championship if they don't have an enforcer. You could look at the Milwaukee Bucks, for instance. They bring in P.J. Tucker as an enforcer, and boom, just like that, they win a championship. Now, it's not an overnight thing, right? Like, it just doesn't happen overnight, but they already had a great core group of guys.
Right.
And they needed an enforcer. And I think Bobby Portis was trying to be that for them, but Bobby Portis had never really been an enforcer.
That's
he had been a younger
right?
guy who, was kind of looking for his scoring in the league and, through Chicago. And then with the Knicks, kind of looking for a different thing. And then he gets to Milwaukee. I know he realizes, like, dang, there's a lane for that. And let me try to be that, because he's naturally a tough dude. Like, he ain't no slouch. You ain't bullying Bobby Portis. Just naturally a tough dude, but also not a very outspoken dude. And most enforcers are outspoken or not, or they'll speak out. And Bobby Portis isn't really someone who speaks out. So you bring in PJ, who now takes that team to the next level as an enforcer. And while doing that, he shows Bobby Portis how to do it, because like I said, he's not a slouch. He's not soft at all. Just had never done it before. And then you bring in a guy who has done it and show him the way. And now I think he's taking on that role for that team. But I think every team, if you're going to be a great team, and I would love to hear your feelings, you need an enforcer. You have to have one.
So I completely agree. And whether it's an enforcer or glue guy, I think the term enforcer is kind of watered down over the years because of the style of the play of the NBA. So when we say enforcer, it's not someone that's going to go out there and fight people and do this. But if you have to, you will. But at the end of the day, it's someone with that energy that's going to bring it constantly, whether it be in practice or the games. And to me, I look at you as an enforcer. I think you took that role to another level with all the accolades you've been able to acquire over the real. But at the end of the time, when I tell people, like, that team is great. Just like I was telling you before we talked, like, that team was great. That was a really good team, but it's not a dynasty without the tangible thing that you brought to that team day in, day out, practice. I even say the organization. Like, I felt like it's a mentality that the organization takes on of that particular player. You know what I mean? It's just a no nonsense, no bullshit. We're going to play basketball. If we need to fight, we can fight, but let's just play basketball type mentality. And, the thing about me is, I bounced around my career, but everywhere I went, I played. Everywhere I went, I started or was the first guy or the second guy off the bench. You know what I mean? And it was always a situation because I kind of feel like management doesn't really necessarily have a real pulse of the team because they're not in there during practice. They're not in the locker room. They don't see how you create bridges and put out fires. And I think a perfect example was that Lob City team. You know what I mean? Because, Doc and I got into it and I was the first trade because Doc was on some bullshit and he knows it. But I was the first trade because I was like, fuck what you talking about, Doc? I'm a man. Don't disrespect me. If we're going to have a real problem. If you do, I end up getting traded. But the second I get traded from that team, I'm constantly getting calls from CP, JJ, DJ, like, man, we miss you. We've been telling Doc to bring you back, this, and that. So there's certain tangibles that you bring as a player when you're that kind of player that don't necessarily always show up on the stat sheets. Again, you're not the all-star, you're not this, you're not that, but very vital to team success, So I completely agree. I really feel like, and there are very few, I feel like, of you guys left in the league because the league is so going in such a different direction now. It's more up-tempo, it's more scoring, it's more points, it's less defense, it's less physicality. But I understand and respect it and appreciate it. But at the end of the day, like I said, I think there's less of those guys. But you can really tell the teams that do still have success in this league have a guy or two like that on the team still.
100%. No, I think you definitely need it. I think it also, even from the standpoint of, like, there are certain things that go on the court, and especially, and guys do stuff to your superstar that you can't just let it ride. And if you don't have that guy on the team, your superstar will probably be one of the most disrespected superstars in the league. I'll say his name because I actually think he's one of the most talented guys in our league, and I got a lot of love for him. Like, that's my dog. We won a gold medal together. Paul George. Paul George does not get the respect he deserves. Paul George is one of the most talented players in our league. He's accomplished a hell of a lot in our league. But I feel like one of the reasons Paul George don't get the respect that he deserves because Paul George be having to fight for himself. And Paul George should never have to fight for himself. I'm sorry, but Steph Curry not fighting for himself. And you can say what you want to say about him, what you think. I don't think he gonna fight back. He ain't gotta fight for himself, nor should he have to.
Because you'll never know if he can because someone else is gonna handle it.
Exactly. And I feel like Paul George, he has to fight for himself a lot. And I don't know any superstar that don't have somebody that's gonna fight for them. And he don't always have that. And so I just think that's very important, not only to your team, but to the star of your team as well. You gotta have somebody that's putting their neck on the line for that guy, no matter what it is. And like you said, we saw you do. We see myself with Steph. We saw you do that with CP. We saw you come on the team. When you came on the team, it was like I took a back seat in that role. Like Matt protecting all of us out here. Like it's cool, you know. And so I think that's very important. And and we see that happening around the league. Like I sometimes see like a guy hit Trae Young, and Trae Young, somebody who coming to take care of this young dude, man?
Right.
Like,
the same thing. You see
his
that
rescue.
You see that there. You see that with Jason Tatum. Like there's a handful of these stars that kind of have to fend for themselves, and that was a role that I embraced. I loved, when I went out there, we would love who wouldn't love to score 30 points a game, but I look forward to, all right, I'm gonna guard the best player every night. And then I know I got my team's back. That's family. So you fuck with CP, you fuck with Kobe, rest in peace, Steve Nash, Steph, Kev, you, whoever, like it's going to be a war. You know what I mean? And that was a role that I loved because that was one thing I was brought up in my family. My dad was nuts in the streets on drugs, but you protect your family at all costs. I always looked at my teammates as my family. So I always figured like the superstar has enough to do. You know what I mean? I got a chance to play with Kobe. So he was given to you on both ends, dog tired every game. He should never have to worry about somebody coming at him. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much how I got on the team. You know what I mean? Because I came at him. Ron Artest came at him the year before. So he was like, fuck these. I'm going to go get both these crazy motherfuckers that have mine back. You know what I mean? So to me, superstars have enough. So you always need that guy or two that can hold it down. Even sometimes when it's not needed, like you said, well, I don't know if he's going to be, you'll never find out because you're going to have to go through a lot to even know if Steph will fight back or Steph will say something back type situation.